Hey, what's up everybody? This is Sajam here, and this is Ask a Pro. All right, I have a question from YouTube. GGBHTG. That's a lot of letters. Ask, I guess every word is a lot of letters. There are a couple of divisive topics you've explained that tend to show up with each new wave of fighting games. Such as new game bad, old game better, and sweep the community. Instead of that, what topic or aspect of fighting games do you wish the community would discuss more? In other words, we always talk about layer 1, but when's layer 2? Or how's layer 2? How's layer 2 doing? Yeah, that's a good question. I think I tend to revisit these things because they sort of like always come up, and there's like a new wave of people who are like unfamiliar, unsure, and like a lot of times, it's weird to say, but like people will say this didn't used to happen in old games. And whether or not it's better or worse, you just want to be like, well, it actually did. So like, let's get in there and actually talk about what's going on here amongst everything, you know? So yeah, I think for me in general, I think more passionate stuff about like what makes fighting games cool. In fact, like I actually did a video not long after the last time I did this that was literally just, here's what I like about fighting games. This is what makes fighting games cool and what I enjoy about the genre. So I think anything that's like breaking down that or digging into the reasons we care about these things is like more important to me. If you're excited about the genre and you want to talk about it and make cool things, then that to me is just any topic with that in mind is always cool.
Throws up battering, and now he dumpsters. I forgot to tell you guys, the dumpster hits on the way back.
Grimbo asks, is there any game not in the fighting genre you wanted to give commentary a try for? Yeah, all kinds of stuff. Basically, I'm always interested in commentating anything that I play or like a lot. So I've been interested in commentating things like TFT in the past when I played a lot of TFT, or like right now I play a lot of Marvel Rivals as an example. That'd be a game. So like for anything that's not fighting game related that I'm really into, I think I'd like be interested in doing stuff like that, or like general hosting work for stuff that I care about. And I've been asked before, like I'm definitely interested in it. In fact, I had like a big hosting opportunity offered to me in the summer of 2020. You can probably guess what happened to it, but it got asked to me like the end of 2019 to work on like a big game as like a host, you know, as someone who didn't need to be like an expert in it, but someone who was like pretty familiar with everything. And yeah, then COVID happened, so I never got to do it. But I'd always be interested in doing anything else. The rule for me is like I have to be interested in it. So like if people offered me roles, even within fighting games, they're like, hey, you wanna come commentate this, you know, bracket for this game? I'd be like, dude, I don't know that game. You should get someone better. Like, I can't tell you the countless amount of gigs for like Tekken 8 or like Smash that people are like, you could do this, right? And I'm like, no, man, you gotta ask a professional. So as long as I care, I'm down. Mr. Yeah asks, if you were to try to introduce a friend who's interested in fighting games to the space, what would you recommend them to play with you? Like whatever you're interested in. I think like you should just play whatever you think is fun and like whatever strikes your eye is cool. Don't worry about like it's the biggest game, it's the most popular game, it's the one that has the most players or prize money or whatever. Like if you see a game and you're like, that person hits you with a door, I'm gonna play that person. Like just that's all it takes. Just play whatever you think is fun, because I think it's a lot harder to be like, all right, these are your vegetables, you gotta like play this game, and then they end up not liking it and then they don't want to play fighting games anymore. I'd rather you play something you think is cool first. ADJIET is Adjit 2039 says, can a great commentator be a spectator casual player, or must you have been a pro player to be a well-known commentator? I don't think you need to be a pro or like super good to commentate, but you should play the game and be interested in it at the very least. And if you want to be knowledgeable and like care about the game to a deeper level, I think you kind of have to play. Because there are things about the game that like from a spectator's point of view, you can recognize or see things, but if you don't actually get your hands in there and play the game, it's hard to describe like, why didn't this person just do this thing here? And it's like, well, it's hard. Like, you know, even if you're really good at the game, it's hard to do stuff sometimes. So yeah, I like firmly believe that if you want to do like real like analysis or dig into the nitty-gritty of games, if you don't have some kind of like higher level understanding from having hands-on time, that's a detriment to you. Even if your overall like game knowledge is incredible, unless you get your hands on the game and play yourself, I think you're losing an aspect that's pretty important for commentary. Deadshot Calamity. Do you have any tips for preserving your voice so you don't lose it quickly? Yeah, as the person whose voice is like barely alive at the end of Evo when everybody else's is dead, I don't drink. Which is, I know, like a big one for a lot of people. I actually think the thing that kills most people's voices the most is not the commentary itself, but like when you go to a loud place during the event and you have to yell. Because if you've ever been on like the show floor of Evo, it's really loud. So like your natural speaking voice doesn't work. You have to project and like the whole time be like super loud. And so doing that for 10 hours a day if you're not drinking enough water and taking care of your voice, is a lot harder than the actual commentary part where you have like a mic attached to your mouth basically. So you don't have to project in the same kind of way, I think. Whereas like if you're on the show floor, you're like you're at an after party talking to someone and you're just like, hey, what's up, blah, 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 yelling the whole time. That destroys your voice more than like, I think almost any part of the job, to be honest. Like that's pretty brutal. So yeah, drink lots of water, try not to put yourself in those kinds of positions, and then rest your voice too. Like when you're not on, try not to speak too loudly or put yourself in environments like that. But after parties kill your voice more than commentary blocks and stuff like that, so just be careful. Math, wait, oh man, is it Mateus Zach maybe? Listen, I'm like a substitute teacher. If I say your name wrong, just pretend it's my first day on the job. How do you choose the topics for your videos? Not just the content itself, but the timing of it. Do you save ideas for the appropriate time, or is it all spontaneous? It's like a bit of both. Sometimes I have like a really cool idea that I want to do, but I just don't have the time to explore it, or like it doesn't feel topical, or I don't have the right examples. And then when it comes up later, I'm like, okay, I literally thought about all the things I wanted to say about this before, so making the video comes easier. Or sometimes the opposite, where like a new topic comes out and I'm like, oh, I should talk about this. What do I want to say about it? And I have to do the think like during that time instead of before. So it depends. Like there's definitely times where it's one or the other. Like I'm ready to talk about it, but it doesn't feel like it's the right time, or something new comes up and I have to talk about it very quickly and I need to like compose my brain and be like, okay, what do I actually want to say about this? And like, how do I thoughtfully explain what I'm trying to articulate about it? Yeah, it's definitely a bit of both. It depends on the circumstances, but I just make the stuff that I want to make. And like, you know, if it's topical, hell yeah. If it's not, you know, it will be eventually. I think a lot of the stuff I do is pretty evergreen. So like, if it's good now, it'll probably be useful to someone in like 6 months or something, or a year, 2 years or whatever. Big Man Road asks, do you have any advice about keeping commentary interesting and keeping the hype? Yeah, you should just care about the things you're commentating, I think. I think as long as you like the game and you like the scene and you're interested in the matches and the players, like it's pretty easy to be excited about stuff. If you're not excited about the thing you're commentating, then that sounds like a job you don't care about. You know what I mean? So like you should probably be interested from the start. But if you want something like further beyond that, like you should, I think maybe categorize fighting game commentary into like 3 categories. This is the way I think about it, is like there's the narrative. So that's something to be excited about. Why is this match compelling? What makes the player or players or match that's happening or the characters or whatever interesting? Like what are the stakes? Where are they from? Like why does it matter that they made it here? What was their road like? What would winning this mean to them? Right, that's one avenue. The other is like the nerd stuff, the analytics about the game. Like what about the game is like happening that's interesting and compelling? And then the third category is like the general passion and excitement. When you listen to someone doing play-by-play like Tasty Steve or Yipes, and they're just like really excitable and fun to listen to, they could be talking about anything. Like they could be talking about sandwiches during a match and you'd be like, yeah, this is awesome. Like those are the 3 like pillars, and find out which of those you're most interested in, and then like, you know, dive in there and make something happen. And if like one of them's not working in this match, there's like no narrative you care about, then like, what about the game? What about like just the play-by-play? What about just being in that environment makes you excited? And if the answer is none of that, then get off the mic. Jadesu, oh Jadesu, dude, he's like commentating an event I'm at and he's sending me questions. I like that. Jadesu asks, how would you rate each of the below in terms of value to time ratio for becoming a better analyst? Playing the game, watching, analyzing high-level footage, external resources, written in video guides, asking players for advice and opinions, and is there anything else you'd recommend? This is an excellent and very in-depth question. For me, it depends on how you learn and how you are as a player. For me, the way I keep up with games at a high level is like, I just never stop keeping up with them. I watch the game constantly. I'm always interested in like whatever's happening. So I'm constantly consuming high level footage. And so for that reason, I don't need to like go look for high level matches to be like, let me study up. You know, that's the thing that's easy for me. And naturally, it's very easy for me to like intuit decision-making and like game plans and ideas and strategies from players because I watch so much. My foundational understanding of the game is like pretty solid. So then seeing what the player's choosing to do and opting to do and like forming, like building their game plan in my head becomes something that I naturally find pretty easy to do. So for me, I would say that watching and analyzing high-level footage is like a natural thing that I do constantly, so it's probably the most important to me. Then it's playing the game. Then it's asking like players' opinions and advice and stuff. Because one of the things you should do as a commentator is like, at the event I'm at right now, for example, there's a player room here where all the players are just chilling. I go down there and I'm like, how are you feeling? Who are you gonna play against this person? Do you not wanna play this matchup? Do you wanna play this matchup? Just not necessarily because I need the like exact detailed breakdown, but you wanna see how they're feeling, how they talk about the matchup, if their nerves are good, if there's players they don't wanna play. You can like kind of get a lot of detailed information from just having a chit chat with the players before the match. And I think they almost always appreciate it because then it gives you additional context that you can provide about them on air, which is like always very useful as well. So that's it. And then the last one is written, what is this? Written/video guides. Like I make written and video guides. I don't really like watch other people do them because if there's something I don't understand about the game, then I just like go find it out. It's not to say that it's not the most important for someone else. There may be someone that learns differently. For how I learn games and like do things, I would say that's the order for me that makes the most sense. And then, is there anything else I recommend? I would just say like keeping up with the game and caring about the players is pretty easy if you're naturally interested in it. So for me, I'm always watching matches, like following players, keeping up with things. So when it comes to like doing specific research on someone, it's almost always like a very small lean in rather than like, oh gosh, I don't know what's happening at all in this gamer scene. Like I have to like completely start from scratch, you know? Next question from the Esteban. This guy's cheating. What are the different styles of commentary, play-by-play, color, etc., and what are their importances to a broadcast? How would you go about developing specific skills for these roles if starting today? I think usually people think about it in two ways. Like they think about it as like the play-by-play person and like the analytical. There's like the person providing the hype and the person providing the analysis. You can think about it in that way. That's the easiest way to break it down. And I think usually people think about two people doing it. It's like myself and Yipes or myself and Tasty Steve as like examples, right? The better you get, usually the more you can just do both and you can do whatever serves a broadcast better. If I'm with someone who's like more hype, I will try to provide more knowledge. And if I'm with someone who's more knowledgeable, I'll try to provide more hype. And when I was a newer commentator, like a weaker commentator, I was more one-dimensional in what I could do. But certainly now I feel comfortable being malleable and doing whatever I have to do. So sometimes I sit down and my commentator partner is like, actually that was minus, and I'm like, all right, I'm getting hyped. Like, you know, I know that it's my role there to be like the excitable one. So understanding that's important. And you know, the more you work with people, the more you know like what they're capable of and being malleable around like what their strengths and weaknesses are. I think the ideal broadcast is understanding what you're there for as a commentator. Your purpose is, it is not a job that's about like self-service. It's all about building something for the people watching, right? So you're building narratives or building excitement or explaining what's happening, doing analysis. Like none of it is about you really. How do you deliver in your own ways and strengths all of that to someone who's watching the broadcast? Understanding that and then figuring out how you can best provide what's missing or best provide all of it if it's necessary to a broadcast is like the most important part. And then how would you go about developing specific skills for these roles if starting today? I'll say like when I was new, I sucked at certain parts of the job, like most of the parts of the job, to be honest. But there are things that you just know that you're better at and worse at, and you can work on the things you're worse at. To give you an example, I think for a long time, like the best person by a lot, and still one of the best people by a lot, at doing big moments for fighting games was Rip. Like he was so much better at it than everybody else that like, you know, he would just be doing like that, and there it is, this person is your X and Y made up tournament for this video example champion.
Of course, we saw Knee with the Fang before, but now Knee with the Brian Fury, Arthur Ashe with the Nina Williams. Let's go, loser bracket, combo breaker 2024.
And like that kind of like excitement at the end of something was really good. And there's like little things that he did that I still think no one else does. And I'll point it out, but don't steal it from him and not, you know, think about this, okay? Don't just go out there and be a thief. But the one thing that he does really well that I think is cool, that like really sets the stakes, is like at the beginning of everything, he'll be like, Arslan Ashe versus Knee, winners finals here at Combo Breaker, or like whatever. Like he really just like, it feels like a video game announcer almost, right? Where it's like setting the stake of like where the match is. And he's very good at doing that, like loser semis, top 4 of the tournament here at X and Y. Like he's very good at like setting the stage and it feels like you're an announcer in something and then getting that big moment at the end. So I used to be terrible at doing big moments, like I was awful. And so I started working on that a lot, probably around 2018, I would say, and really trying to make that like a focus of something I did a lot better in 2018, 19, and then beyond with other commentary stuff. So in the beginning, just focus on doing what you do best. And then as you kind of like feel like you're reaching the cap of that, then spread out and work on the other skills that are important. Devon asks, did you always know what you wanted to grow when you entered the FGC? Did you feel like you would compete in Street Fighter and Killer Instinct forever? I don't think so. I think I just did what I thought was fun. Like I made videos about fighting games, like starting in 2010 or so, because I was just like in high school and I thought it would be fun to maybe do that. And then I started doing commentary because I'd already made videos, and so talking about fighting games was natural, and they were like, hey, you make stuff, you should come do commentary over here. So I did that because I was just there and they needed someone, and then like I played in tournaments because I wanted to and I like the games, and now commentary is my job because like I like it, you know? So I didn't really have like I feel like my job didn't exist when I was in school. It's like now everybody, you ask like kids what they want to do when they grow up, they're like, I want to be a YouTuber or like a streamer, or like, but like it didn't really exist when I was young, so I just did it because it was fun. And then now it's my job. So that's pretty cool. Corey, you can ask, what was the biggest commentary bad habit that you tried to squash and get rid of? Great question. When I was new, I was a lot like I was like the frame meter in Street Fighter. That's basically what I was on commentary. I would be commentating Injustice and I'd be like, okay, Batman does back 2-3, which is -7, and he pokes with a 6-frame move and does this, and then he does like a 7-frame, and it was just like, uselessly spouting information in a deadpan way that was not exciting or fun to listen to at all. And so realizing like how to take my actual interest, which is like knowing these things and like how players play around them, and then be excitable about it and then talk like a human being instead of just like spouting information uselessly into the void, was like the first big bad thing that I was like terrible at and I had to fix. But like for bad habits for me, you know, I've been doing it for a long time, so I think most of the major bad habits don't exist anymore, but there's always things that I'm working on and trying to improve and like focusing more on my commentary as time goes on. So around 2018, it was like a focus on doing analysis faster, right? Making it so that the things I had to say, because I'm the least important person on the, like, you don't want to listen to me. You want to listen to the other person who's more exciting most of the time, right? So like, you know, if Steve or Yipes is like, oh, and they're getting excited and I'm like, that was a -7. He could have done a better punish. Like no one wants to hear that. So being as fast and as succinct as possible when you're delivering analysis was like the focus then, and then on big moments, and then it was like on building narratives, and then it was like on compounding and taking narratives in a small way and like making people care about the players in short descriptions that didn't last too long, and then, you know, like working on individual building blocks of commentary until everything kind of falls together. Mase no Ken asks, was there ever a point with commentating where you thought it wasn't going to pay off? Like you study these games and teach yourself so much about them, but nothing felt like it was going to become a career. How did you know to keep pushing? Yeah, so like I became a commentator full-time in 2016. I was like in college, and then I was like, all right, starting next year, like Street Fighters, you know, a new game is gonna come out. And like, so myself and Tasty Steve, he had a job at the time, and I was in school. And then I took a semester off school and he left his job, and we're like, we're gonna go full-time. And there was like this circuit that we were gonna do like monthly that was gonna pay us a bunch of money, and like we were really excited about. And then we went to like our first tournament of the year. It was like March or April. And then we got a call that was like, yeah, that circuit's canceled. You got none of that. Like none of that's gonna happen. And me and Steve were in the hotel room like, it's over, bro. This is the end. Like that's it. Steve's like, I'm getting my job back. I'm like, I'm going back to school. This is the end, bro. Like it was a good run. We lasted a solid month. Like we did our, you know, we had our time. Like it was a good day in the sun, and like we were just legit. I remember being in the hotel room like, I gotta start making content or something. I don't know how I'm gonna do this. I gotta focus on, I gotta start streaming. I think that's why I started streaming actually. And yeah, we were like, this is the end. I don't think it's gonna work. And then like by the end of that weekend, they like called us back and they're like, oh, the tour is actually happening. Like you're good. This event's gonna be back. You'll be fine. So it was not like a very stable career choice, but like, you know, that's kind of just how it is with this kind of thing. My recommendation is like you do it until it's making you as much money or more money than like whatever your main gig is, and then maybe consider it. But diving in this kind of way, unless you have something stable, is not what I would recommend. I had already been making content for 6 years when I started doing commentary full time, so I had content and commentary, and even then I was like, oh God, I don't know. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do this. Boba T asks, what kind of preparation goes into an educational video, such as the videos in your fighting game difficulty playlist? Is there some kind of loose script to follow with planned moments examples, or is it more just talking and discussing points as they're brought up? Yeah, so there's two kinds of ways to do this. When I used to start, I was a YouTuber primarily first. I used to write scripts for everything, like, you know, whether it was bullet points or like things that I really wanted to say in particular in longer sentences, I used to script out more things. Then the more I did live events, the more I stopped doing multiple takes and writing detailed scripts, because so much of my work is me having to do everything live anyway, that I became more and more comfortable doing everything in one take, to the point where I basically never, even if I'm recording something for YouTube, do multiple takes. It's just like I rip it and like I just am comfortable doing it. So I would say whatever's comfortable for you is what you should do. For me, it's usually when I have an educational video in mind, I have like video examples and things that I want to say, and I kind of bullet point them in my brain and I just go. If that works for you because you have a lot of experience doing it and you can like make that kind of like a short, concise thing without a script and without a lot of editing, then that's awesome. If it is not the case for you, which it's like most people, then you should like write scripts and like, you know, do multiple shoots of something and then plan it over and over and over. I just have like a decade of doing live events. Just depends on what you're comfortable with is what I would say. And when it comes to these educational videos, I usually just have the idea. And then when I have the idea, I just rip it and do it right away. And then I do it before it leaves my mind, if that makes sense. It's very rare that something hits my mind and I have to like write it down or store it too long before it's something I create. Pepto Griswold, well. With the recent success of all the Sajam slams, how important do you think non-tournament events, exhibitions, and content like this is going forward to the FGC and growth of fighting games as a whole? Crazy Raccoon Cub is another example of an event bridging the gap for FGC faithful and non-fighting game players. Yeah, I think like at the core, our community and myself still likes open bracket tournaments and events. It's like what we care about and what we're interested in. Fighting games are sick, and ways to get more people to think that are important. And so like doing pro-am competitions like this, I think is the best way to get non-endemic people to like give the genre a try and then see that it's really fun. Because if you see that your favorite streamer who you think is a numbskull can play fighting games and have fun, then like you probably can too, right? So that was like part of the idea. Pro-am competition was doing so well for so many different things. You probably all saw during the pandemic, like all the PogChamp stuff with chess, right? Like they were doing pro-am stuff with chess. And if they could do it with chess, like, come on, fighting games, a lot easier to sell, I think. It's a video game. But they were doing it with so many different events, and I pitched for years the idea of the slam, and like no one wanted to do it. They all thought the idea was like really silly. And so I finally just did it, and like obviously it's had a lot of success since then. But I would say in general, these kinds of things are like super exciting. People like them a lot. They're really, really fun. And the goal of the slams always is to get people to try fighting games and do something cool for people in the scene. The slam always has something for the coaches and the players in the community to enjoy and check out, because like I don't want to make an event that's just for influencers, because they have enough going on for them, you know what I mean? They're fine. But you have to make sure that the event is fun for them and also fun and cool for the scene and the community as well. And so like I don't want it to be like, all right guys, we're taking a break during Evo finals to have like a show match of Sajam's influencers. Like, please God. But you know, we're trying to do something that's like fun and cool, that can live and coexist in the space and get people interested in fighting games, but not overtake the core of what our community cares about, which is like open bracket events and then high level tournaments and finales and stuff like that. You know, those things can all coexist on our calendar, I think perfectly fine. Some more questions from Blue Sky. Tats, T-A-T-Z-E asks, in such high speed scenarios like commentating a fighting game, how do you manage to quickly and consistently find the right things to say and point out about the match at hand? I mean, sometimes you don't, sometimes you say the wrong things. But the answer, and the reason I got good at it, is I've just done many thousands of hours of fighting game analysis. If you go to my YouTube, there's like a channel that's just me doing analytical breakdowns of like every fighting game. There's one for Street Fighter 5, and there's one for Street Fighter 6, there's Guilty Gear, there's like every game I've ever watched. Basically, I just practice it at home a lot, so that by the time the scenario happens in the match, I have explained it 40, 50, 100, 1,000 times before. So of those 1,000 times I've done it off camera, or like on camera, but not in a live event, I just have practiced saying it the best way possible. Because the first time you say it, you might be like, oh yeah, that was safe because he's in burnout, so that the frame data changed so that it was good. And then the next time you gotta say it better than that, right? So you're like, okay, how do I take that and then say it shorter? And then you do that, and once you've done it like 50 times, it's like burnout makes that safe there, and then now he's gonna do this, and then now, you know, you have ways to like shrink everything down into a faster and more like efficient way of saying everything, and that just comes with lots of reps, I think. Or you can like sit there and write it out or something. But even if you have a script, I'm sure a lot of you know this if you ever tried to like read a cue card or something, even if you have a script, sometimes you say the wrong things, so it just takes a lot of practice. Varia asks, when it comes to content creation, do you think it's better to make something to your vision and keep at it, or is it better to throw stuff at the wall and see what sticks, or a mixture between the two? Well, I think everything you make should have your vision, but I think the question you're trying to get at probably is, my guess is like, do you wait and make the perfect thing, or do you just make stuff over and over and over? I'm like a just rip it kind of person, because I think something like the slam could have taken like 6 months to do if we just sat there and thought about it for a long time. But like when I decided to do it, we just ripped it. It was like a month of prep, maybe less. Does everybody want to play in this? You guys want to play in this? What's the format? Who's gonna play? Go. Like that was basically what it is. Like we were just pulling people in and then like figuring out the sponsors, figuring out the format, figuring out everything, go as quickly as possible, like getting graphics and assets made like the night before, stuff like figuring out how to work my overlays or OBS and stuff like the night before. Like we were just ripping it. So I think for some things to happen, you have to understand they can't be perfect. And the easiest way for them to be better is to make it first and then fix the problems with it, rather than just to like sit there and ponder the orb of like, how do I make this the best thing ever and never make it? Just make it once. And then once you make it once, you'll be like, oh gosh, this is the things that were really bad about it. I'll fix that. I think that's like a better way to go about things than just to sit there and like stew on it, because your brain will beat yourself up. You'll be like, you know what would make it perfect is if this like part of the font was adjusted like this percentage that way. Like, don't do that, just make it. Akuma Matata, what a wonderful name, asks, how often do you learn something new in fighting games while you commentate? Example, oh, I didn't know that was plus on this, or I didn't know you can escape from this situation with this move. I think pretty constantly, actually. When we do pro-am stuff, the slam, I see new players do things that I didn't know was possible in the games all the time, because they're just doing stuff, and then sometimes something like wild happens, and you're like, what? I didn't even know that was a thing. And when I watch high-level matches and replays, I see combos or confirms or things that I'm just like, I didn't know that was possible constantly. And I watch so much too. So you would think that I had seen everything, right? Especially games that have been out years and years and years and years. You would just assume you'd seen everything, but I think you almost always find cool new stuff. Even like, you watch really old games that have been out for a long time. So you just see stuff that you're like, I didn't even know this character had this character specific thing on somebody. Like, it's just, yeah, it's outrageous how often that kind of stuff comes up. But that's what makes it fun. Because like if you never saw anything new, it would just be so boring, I think. So yeah, I think basically always, constantly. And I get excited, I'm like, wow, I've never seen that combo before. I would just say it. I'm not gonna be like, yes, nice, confirm into these two moves that I didn't know worked together. You know, you just gotta be excited and say what you see. So I think that's the fun part about it. Well, thanks for all the wonderful questions, everybody. If you have more questions, you know where to find me, of course, Sajam everywhere, and I can answer more for you anytime, because that's my job. And hopefully you've enjoyed this. This has been Ask a Pro. I'll catch you gamers around.